Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you for coming out today to join us for a partner webinar series event on how to build a mobile app for business in minutes on the AWS cloud. My name is Kyle Lichtenberg. I'm a solutions architect with Amazon Web Services on the partner team, and I'm joined today by Connor O'Neill, the director and product manager for FeedHenry. And today we're going to talk to you about the methodologies of leveraging Amazon Web Services and FeedHenry to put together highly functional applications for mobile devices very quickly using the combination of our two products. A little bit of housekeeping before we move forward. Submit your questions when you have them using the questions tool that's built into the GoToWebinar platform. It should be right there as part of your interface, and you can enter those questions at any time. We're going to collect them throughout the presentation, and at the end we'll come back and answer those for you after a brief poll. Also, a copy of today's presentation will be made available on our SlideShare channel, and the URL is up there for that. You can also search Amazon Web Services on SlideShare to find that content. And also a recording of this will be posted to the YouTube channel, and there's the link for that that's up on the screen, and you'll have access to that through the slides when you access them from SlideShare, or just by visiting our AWS Cloud channel on YouTube and looking for the partner webinar series. Today we're going to cover quick introduction to the agility of Amazon Web Services. One of our core functions that we bring to businesses is the agility of the platform, the speed at which you can stand up and remove infrastructure and experiment and use the systems without any long-term obligations. Number two, we're going to talk about how to develop, integrate, and deploy cloud-powered mobile applications using the FeedHenry mobile application platform with a combination of the AWS services. And thirdly, we're going to take a look at a case study on how the Dublin Airport Authority implemented with FeedHenry to efficiently leverage multiple AWS services. And then we're going to save some time at the end for Q&A. So again, if you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to enter those in, and we'll do our best to get those answered for you. So one of the primary reasons that we're seeing businesses moving quickly to AWS and to the cloud is the agility that it offers. In business, agility is incredibly important. Being able to have the next great late-breaking idea, have the next business concept, have the next overall idea for an application or for a service or for a system, and being able to bring that to market quickly, and if not first, can be invaluable. Enterprises especially cannot afford to be slow. If you're working in a traditional environment and you're trying to stay modern, stay on top of the business model that you're working in, and you're trying to stay on top of the industry, you can't afford to wait for weeks to experiment. You can't afford to wait for weeks to get new servers and systems in place just to give you the ability to try out some new concepts and some new ideas. To stay at the forefront, to stay at the cutting edge, you need to have the ability to spin these things up in minutes, have access to these resources in minutes, and make sure that you can get your ideas to market before your competitors. AWS gives you the ability to control infrastructure in minutes. In literally, in a matter of seconds, you can add new environments, you can add new systems, you can expand globally, you can fire up new equipment in other countries, other regions. You can add thousands of servers or remove thousands of servers if you decide that you don't need them and you no longer want to pay for those servers being online. You can deploy a petabyte scale data warehouse in a matter of minutes. You can shut down that petabyte scale data warehouse if you decide that you don't need it right now, or you don't need it moving forward, or maybe it just wasn't the right direction to move in. The agility that AWS offers gives you the ability to create a culture of innovation. With on-premise equipment, it's very difficult to achieve. On-premise equipment can be very expensive to maintain. It's going to have a very long lead time to get in place. And it's not going to give you the opportunity to try things out and fail cost effectively. Not every idea will be a great idea when it comes to fruition and it comes to the time to test things out. And if you've made a large investment in hardware to make that happen, it's going to be very difficult to encourage people and to allow people to make these types of moves forward. With AWS and with cloud technology, it's easy to experiment often because the costs are very low. For a few cents an hour, you can run servers. If you need gigantic super mega servers, maybe it'll be a few dollars an hour, but you're still probably going to come in under the cost of a nice lunch or a few cups of coffee to try out the development of a new big idea or try out a new innovative approach to implementing your own infrastructure. This allows you the ability to fail at a low cost, so there's less risk with this failure. This will harbor a culture that will allow more innovation. And with this additional innovation, it will give you the edge over your competitors in your space of being able to get your systems to market first, because you've been able to experiment, you've been able to try it out, both small scale and large scale, in a cost-effective way, before needing to commit to an overall solution. One of the big uses that we see in this space specifically is development of line-of-business applications from the enterprise environment moving towards a mobile platform. Since mobile is increasingly becoming the platform of choice, both commercially and in line-of-business applications, it's important to have a strategy and have systems in place to help you accelerate this process. To talk to you a little bit more about how to build mobile applications for business in the AWS cloud, I'm going to hand you over to Connor O'Neill, the Director of Product Management for Feed Henry and an Amazon technology partner, who's going to take you through a little bit more.
Thanks, Kyle. Hi, everyone. My name is Connor O'Neill. As Kyle said, I'm Director of Product Management here at Feed Henry in Ireland. And today I'll be introducing our cloud-based mobile application platform, Feed Henry 3, and how it works with AWS to deliver a compelling solution for the Dublin Airports Authority mobile application. I suppose first we'll do a little quick Feed Henry at a glance, giving you some sense of who we are and what we're about. We've been doing this for what we do for quite a while. We're actually a spin-out from an Irish research institute in 2010 from Waterford Institute of Technology here in the southeast of Ireland. And we basically work at an enterprise level in terms of the types of technologies we offer in the mobile space. So our mobile platform for the enterprise is really all about accelerating development and collaboration on mobility projects. It gives organizations that greater agility, visibility, and efficiency, the types of things Kyle was talking about there. The platform offers a suite of features that embrace collaborative app development across multiple teams and projects. And it gives you this flexible and open development toolkit approach, but at the same time giving you the centralized control of security and back-end integration and the choices you want in terms of deployment options. So in other words, we have a platform that helps you develop and manage enterprise mobile apps. As you can see here, we have basically our overall approach. There are kind of our three blocks there. It's bringing order to the frenzy and chaos of app development. It's getting away from the idea of a single developer building a single app from end to end. In an enterprise context, you're talking about many apps, many different approaches, toolkits, devices, and requirements, whether it's B2E, B2C, B2B, and so on. But it also enables CIOs to look at that idea of being a mobile-first organization and getting control of all of these developments that are happening across potentially very, very large organizations. But by having a flexible deployment with lots of open technologies, you get zero lock-in. So you get your mobile backend as a service, but not in a way that forces you down a particular route in terms of proprietary technologies. And really talking about addressing the key issues in this sort of mobile-first world, the types of things I'll be talking about as I go through a demo in a few minutes are things like the collaborative workflows, giving you agility, allowing multiple teams to work together, all built on open technologies, open scalable architecture, all focused on RESTful APIs, and obviously all focused on cloud, the entire back end being cloud. But getting that centralized control, so focusing on things like security, which is obviously a big issue for anybody in this space, policy management, and a huge part of it is back-end integration. All of these systems that you need to wire into to deliver at the same time responsive mobile applications. And this particularly in the context of the DAA, the Dublin Airport Authority, and the application that they have that's built on our platform. And then we obviously have, I mentioned there, flexible development of apps. We're non-prescriptive in terms of how you build your app. We provide all the tools you need to take the approaches that work best for you. And it may not be a single approach for an overall organization. It may be different approaches depending on the types of apps that you're building, the types of audiences that you're addressing. And obviously that's all wrapped in enterprise-grade security with that focus on flexible deployment options to suit where you are in terms of organizational maturity, in terms of your own approaches to how you do deployments, and what particular mix you want. And with that, I'll head over to doing a live demo. And basically what I'm going to do over the next few minutes is walk you through the main features of the Feed Henry 3 platform. And And this platform we actually just formally announced last week, so it's hot off the presses. And we don't have a huge amount of time here, so I'll do a broad sweep of sort of the core functionality and some of the really nice new features that we have in Feed Henry 3. This is your main landing page. It gives you the overview of everything that you can basically do within the platform. But for a lot of people who are focused on development specifically, they'll spend a lot of time in the area of projects. And this is really getting across the idea, as I mentioned, that in enterprise applications, you really don't have single developers building a single app. So you really have to have the idea of a project where you could have potentially native iOS, Android, Windows Phone 8 apps, hybrid Cordova apps, Xamarin apps, Accelerator. You could have Node.js business logic and shared services that are connected to your backend systems. And with the project concept, different teams within the Feed Henry 3 platform can work on these independently, but as part of that same overall project. And I think this example here I'll use as the basis for a lot of what I'm talking about here, because it touches on really what I raced through there pretty quickly. So this is quite a complex project, and you'll basically see 3 columns here. So on the left, you have what are effectively your client apps. In the middle, you have your cloud code, and then we'll talk about MBAS services and what that involves in a few minutes. So in the specific case we have here, we've got a Cordova app, which can be built for any of our supported mobile platforms. Then you have a native iOS app, a native Android app, and a static web app, which, for example, could work as an admin portal for what you're doing. And all of these then talk to the cloud instance, the Node.js backend server. So everything we do in the backend is all built around Node.js. And if you're staying up to date with what's happening with Node, it's incredibly responsive. It's extremely powerful. It's extremely fast in terms of not just execution speed, but the ability for you to build the code you need to integrate into your backend systems is much, much faster with Node and all that sort of business logic that we're talking about. But on the right, what you have is a set of shared services. And the idea here is you can stand up individual services that connect to various backend systems like Salesforce, SAP, or maybe you have a custom AAA service. You've multiple types of login systems, and you need to create a shared service that all of your apps can use. So we'll drill down a little bit into here and give you a sense of some of the other features that are available within the platform. So if we look at the Cordova app specifically, on the right you see we have effectively a live preview of the app. Now you can do end-to-end development of Cordova apps inside the studio, so everything you need to do that development can be done in here. But naturally, that's something that you may do as you kind of kick off. Most developers are probably going to move very quickly to their own command line based flow. So anything you see within the Feed Henry Studio and any functionality you see within this studio here is also available on the command line and can be fully integrated with your own command line flow. And as you can see here, we have an editor so you can access your code. But you can work through all of that, and I think the most important bit for in terms of applications themselves is the fact that you can also build a binary. So here you can see how any of the supported platforms that we have can be selected as a binary target, and you can also pick which custom Node.js backend your app talks to and configure things like obviously your various certs and profiles that you will need to successfully build for platforms like iOS. And then really, clicking on Android there, optionally including AirWatch SDK or other MDMs, picking that MBAS instance, and you very quickly can just click on the build button there, and within a few moments you'll have your app built, your binary built, a QR code that you can immediately install. You can download the file, install it, share the link, and then you can also put the binary either into the public App Store, Play Store, or your own private Feed Henry enterprise app store when you're talking about B2E type applications. So if we jump then to our Node.js code, really we've been at the forefront of Node.js for a very long time. We've been using it since 2011 when it was still a little baby. and having become the hot thing of 2014. And we keep adding more and more in terms of our support around Node.js. So you get full speed, full-blown Node. It's not some cut-down version of Node. It's not something running inside a JVM, which means every Node module is available to you. All, I think, we're at 70,000 Node modules. And you also get full Express support, including Express 4 support, which is, again, it's out hot off the presses, so that you can create your own RESTful APIs, all within Feedhenry, and all in the way you would normally do it if you're using standard Node anywhere else for your own development purposes. One interesting feature we have around Node modules is, the positive of Node is you have 70,000 modules, the negative is you have 70,000 modules, so which ones do you pick? So we've created a whitelisted set that we stand over, that we've tested, we've evaluated, that we use ourselves in everything we do, and we provide you with everything you need to get going on a module like that, the instructions, the code, and so on, so that you can get up and running in a Node scenario very, very quickly. And equally, just like the client code, all of the cloud code is there available for you to edit if you so wish. And of course, this Node code can access all of your MBAS APIs that we have, for example, MongoDB data storage, caching, and everything that a mobile app requires to be high performance and to be as responsive as possible, including offline sync for those times when you have bad internet connectivity and so on, which is a particular use case over here in Ireland and also in the UK when people are working, for example, in maintenance type projects out on motorways and so on. Over on the far right then, if we look at the Oracle Fusion CRM service, this gives you a sense of what this is about. So you can spin up, as I said earlier on, a standalone service inside Feedhenry 3 and create something reusable that your apps can share. So rather than exposing an entire internal system to the entire world, you can use our service functionality to provide just a subset of those APIs to your apps. All of that's proxy security through Feedhenry, and all of that's there in a discoverable way for your other development teams to make use of, again, in that reusable way. If we quickly then move to reporting and analytics, you can see that you get a sense of everything that's happening with your deployed apps. And that's per project, per app, gives you device information, user information, geographic information, and so on. And roles, again, are an important thing here. This studio isn't a developer studio. There's lots of different types of people in here, content editors, form submission managers, and so on. And you can also have analytics roles for people who are just focused on generating reports around the type of activity that's happening in the platform. Our drag and drop apps are getting a lot of attention over the past few weeks, and what it really gives you is a fully integrated ability to quickly create mobile apps without having to write a single line of code. So basically, with a few clicks, you can create forms-based apps or prototypes for iOS and Android devices. And these forms can include everything you might expect from, we'll call it a standard forms-based solution. But in addition, you get mobile-focused things like signature capture, camera capture, your location, embedded maps, and so on. And what's really key here is that non-developers can easily generate a multitude of these apps for employees, for example, without ever needing to worry about the development flow. So developers can add forms functionality to their apps in addition to this by leveraging the powerful forms APIs that we have. And as I mentioned earlier on, everything we do is really built around APIs. And finally, in terms of the demo, in our administration section, you can do things like do user management, look at deployment targets, your private app store, the apps that you have in that app store, and so on. So all of that together in a fully integrated fashion. Now that's very much, I suppose, a whistle-stop tour of kind of some of the highlights of Feedhenry 3. But in terms of the DAA and what was involved there, so the Dublin Airport Authority basically owns and operates the airports in Ireland and handle over 25 million passengers a year. And And when they're developing apps, they don't just want something that provides customers with the most useful information and so on. Obviously, the apps have to be very, very responsive and user-friendly, but the apps themselves have to talk to a lot of data feeds, a lot of data systems, a lot of heterogeneous data systems, not just a single one. So the types of things that are being pulled in are the live flight arrival and departure information. There's push notifications there around delays and gate openings and so on. There's a fully integrated car parking system as well. They have a wide range of car parks for different purposes scattered around the various airports and what's involved there. Giving you real-time information on queuing times is obviously particularly important, but also, you know, as becomes more and more important in airports, the whole retail experience is a major revenue generator. So everything that a user might need in terms of retail and so on, and doing that via a mobile CMS. And they also have functionality that allows fast track through security lines. And to do that, they basically leveraged the Feed Henry cloud-based platform. And as I said, there was that back-end integration into quite a few multiple and legacy systems in some cases, so quite old systems. You know, everybody thinks in terms of RESTful APIs and so on, and they think maybe one step back to SOAP and XML, but there's lots of systems out there that even predate that again. And by making use of the Feed Henry platform, that becomes very straightforward without the apps ever having to be aware of those systems. They get nice, clean, RESTful APIs delivering JSON. And you've lots of business logic there in the Feed Henry Cloud that pulls in all that data and makes sure it's updated in a timely fashion to all of the users of these apps. And it's multiple apps because they do different apps, for example, based on different airports. And the ability then for them to go in very easily and very quickly managed through the mobile CMS. So a lot of their services, a lot of what I've talked about there runs on AWS EC2. A lot of their data is obviously in RDS, and anything to do with push notifications is done with AWS SNS, which we have as an off-the-shelf node module within our system. It's a whitelisted module, so it's very, very easy for anyone to come along and take that push notification and add the functionality within an app. And that's really it from me, a very, very fast, kind of rapid-fire overview of what Feed Henry is about and the DAA app. And I'll hand you back now, if I can somehow manage it. I will hand you back over to Kyle, or has that been done for me there?
Awesome. Yep, thank you so much, Connor. That was very enlightening. It's an interesting product to watch for sure. So we've got a couple questions that have come in through the portal here. Before we jump into those, though, we've got a quick poll. Should just take you a few seconds here to respond. I'm going to throw up on your screen. The question here is, overall, how satisfied are you with today's webinar? Very satisfied, satisfied, somewhat satisfied, dissatisfied, or very dissatisfied? I'll give you just a few seconds here to go ahead and choose one of those. Awesome. Thank you all so much for that. And let's jump into the questions here. So one of the questions we got was, where can we find Feed Henry white papers?
There should be a white paper section on our website that you can download, but if not, if you can't find exactly what you need, if you get in contact with me there, you can see my email address up on the screen, coneil@feedhenry.com. I can make sure you get whatever you need.
Awesome. And we have a question here from Jiggy, who's joining us from Sydney, where it's 3:17 a.m. They wanted to know if there is a test or a demo or a time-limited trial that they're able to sign up for.
There's not a self-sign-up time-limited trial, but if you go through the requested demo flow, that will get you in contact with the relevant people in here who can put that in motion for you. So that you get exactly what you need in terms of being able to evaluate the product. Great.
Another question came through. Can all mobile apps be managed from one platform, even if they've already been developed and deployed in the company?
Yes, so this has become a big thing, particularly with the launch of Feed Henry 3. Interestingly enough, I was talking to an existing client of ours that has worked with us for a certain amount of stuff, but massive global organization and has, groups building apps all over the place. They have agencies, contractors, and so on. And really what they were looking for was the ability to manage all of this so that they can bring everything into one place and know, what was built, where it was built, what versions were built, what certs were used, and so on. But in addition to that, what we've also added is the ability to import apps from other systems. So obviously you can do standard Cordova apps. If you have your own native iOS project, that's not a problem. If you have your own native Android project, you can now pull that into Fleet Henry 3. And we've just most recently added the ability, for example, to pull in accelerator apps. We've got Xamarin support in there as well. So there should be, there's very few scenarios, except potentially if you're using some very old legacy proprietary system that you're trying to get away from, but you can still manage that within Fleet Henry. So if you bring in your source code within Fleet Henry, use one of our SDKs to, for example, add some basic initialization, then that immediately can be managed and tracked within the platform from an analytics perspective, and you can look at then extending out that app over time. So it's very much, don't think of it as you build your Fleet Henry apps and then you manage your Fleet Henry apps. Think of it as a platform for managing apps in general.
Awesome. So we had another question come in, and this one's actually a pretty solid question, I think. At what point does it make sense to use a platform to create and manage our mobile apps? Does it depend on the size of the app, the number of apps, the platforms you're targeting? What delimiters do you recommend to your customers?
Yeah, I mentioned at the start that we're, from an enterprise perspective, we're moving away from this idea that you have a single developer who's, for example, doing the design, doing the app development, doing back-end development, and so on, and you're very much heading towards a scenario where there's a team or there's multiple teams working within a particular project. But it's when you start looking at the fact that you do have multiple apps that you're creating and you do have multiple platforms that you want to target, whether that's doing a full cross-platform using Cordova, or you want to do individual, dedicated native apps for iPhone, Android, Windows Phone 8. It would be, insanity to try and do each of those standalone and try and do your own back-end code and try and manage all of that without a platform. And that's really the sweet spot for Fleet Henry. When the word multiple comes into it, you really need to start thinking about not reinventing the wheel each time with each of your developments, and leverage the reusability that you get in the platform.
Yeah, that's great advice. So thank you so much for joining us today, Connor. This has been enlightening. I've got good ratings here to show that the customers enjoyed it as well. Before you guys take off, I want to thank you all for coming today and making the time to listen to and watch this webinar. If you could, please go ahead and visit the URL that you can see on your screen, and this will also be available in the deck and the follow-up email as well. We appreciate your feedback. We're here for you, to give you the information that you guys are looking for. If we're missing the target on that, please let us know. If you loved it, please let us know that as well. And again, thank you so much to Connor for presenting to us today and showing us the demo and walking us through that case study. And thank you all, everyone else who's on the line here, for making the time to come out and spend some of your day with us talking about building mobile apps on AWS. Thank you all so much.
Thanks very much, Kyle. Thanks, everyone.